Good morning, everyone. We are Group 2. Our topic is about an impact of COVID-19 on mental health. A pandemic is not just a medical phenomenon. It affects individuals and society and causes disruption, anxiety, stress, stigma, and xenophobia. The behavior of an individual as a unit of society or a community has marked effects on the dynamics of a pandemic that involves the level of severity, degree of flow, and after effects. Rapid human-to-human transmission of the SARS-CoV-2 resulted in the enforcement of regional lockdowns to stem the further spread of the disease. Isolation, social distancing, and closure of educational institutes, workplaces, and entertainment venues consign people to stay in their homes to help break the chain of transmission. However, the restrictive measures undoubtedly have affected the social and mental health of individuals from across the board. As more and more people are forced to stay at home in self-isolation to prevent the further flow of the pathogen at the societal level, governments must take the necessary measures to provide mental health support as prescribed by the experts. The psychological state of an individual that contributes toward the community health varies from person to person and depends on his background and professional and social distancing. Quarantine and self-isolation can most likely cause a negative impact on one's mental health. A review published in The Lancet said that the separation from loved ones, loss of freedom, boredom, and uncertainty can cause a deterioration in an individual's mental health status. To overcome these, measures at the individual and societal levels are required. Under the current global situation, both children and adults are experiencing a mix of emotions. Then they can be placed in a situation or environment that may be new and can be potentially damaging to their health.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. I'm Rufa Labita under the group of Miss Elizabeth Mayonte. For today's report, I will discuss the impact of COVID-19 on mental health of the adults experiencing job loss or income insecurity. We all can experience mental health problems, whatever our background or walk of life. But the risk of experiencing mental health is not equally distributed across our society. Those who face the greatest disadvantages in life also face the greatest risk to their mental health. Employment is one of the most strongly evidenced determinant of mental health. The lack of access to either employment or good quality employment can decrease the quality of life, social status, self-esteem, and achievement of life goals. Furthermore, job insecurities and restructuring also have negative impacts on employees' well-being over time. Throughout the pandemic, many people across the country have experienced job or income loss, which has generally affected their mental health. Adults experiencing household job loss during the pandemic have consistently reported higher rates of symptoms or anxiety and/or depressive disorder compared to adults not experiencing household job loss. Constant uncertainty in terms of future, financial burden, striving to maintain a work-life balance, mainly those with children, and managing household chores are some issues the working adults face due to working from home. Before I end my report, I would like to share with you a short video on coping with stress and caring for mental health during COVID-19.
Oh,
Hi, this is Erica Kayla Magsino from BS Office Administration, and I'll be reporting about the impact on mental health on teens. So, the teenage years are naturally full of angst as children move through adolescence to adulthood. The COVID-19 pandemic has intensified the stresses of that transition for many youth. The ongoing stress, fear, grief, and uncertainty created by the COVID-19 pandemic has weighed heavily on children and teens. Many are having tough time coping emotionally, and many have experienced or witnessed a rise in racism during the pandemic, particularly towards the families of Asian descent. Since the start of the pandemic, hospitals have seen more mental health emergencies among teens. The COVID-19 pandemic has meant living through multiple crises, including financial and disease-related, all at once. These crises have taken a toll on our mental and physical health. The restriction of the pandemic had been felt across the board. For teenagers, restrictions have meant months of virtual learning, more time isolated from friends, and the canceling of important social activities like sports, school performances, graduation, and proms. Attending school remotely can require an adjustment. Connecting with peers and friends at school is an important part of development for teenagers. The virtual learning environment can be isolating in comparison. Brittany Limonda, PhD, a senior neuropsychologist at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, said, "The teenage years are filled with physical, emotional, and cognitive changes. There are also hormonal shifts and more independence and responsibility and peer challenges. It is therefore not surprising that teens have been more susceptible to declines in psychological health over the last year. The pandemic has forced teens to be removed from normal social, physical, and educational interactions. The restriction presented by the stay-at-home measure can make it hard for youth who long to test their independence. Being stuck at home and missing out on extracurricular activities can be tough. While this is a challenging time for everybody, it is particularly difficult for adolescents. This is the time where they're developmentally supposed to be gaining independence. Therefore, concluding that the pandemic has taken toll majority to the teens, since it struck with restriction everyone was not prepared for, and everything was cancelled in a split seconds, making it hard to accept and comprehend all at once. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Today I will discuss the impact of COVID-19 in children's mental health under the group of Miss Elizabeth P. Mayonte. According to the latest available data from UNICEF, globally at least 1 in 7 children has been directly affected by lockdowns, while more than 1.6 billion children have suffered some loss of education. Children are not the face of this pandemic, but they risk being among its biggest victims. While they have thankfully been largely spared from direct health effects of COVID-19, at least the crisis is having a profound effect on their well-being. All children of all ages and all countries are being affected, and particularly by the socio-economic impacts, in some cases by mitigation measures that may inadvertently do more harmful than good. This is universal crisis, and for some children, the impact will be lifelong. Moreover, the harmful effects of this pandemic will not be distributed equally. They are expected to be most damaging for children in the poorest country and in poorest neighborhoods, and for those in already disadvantaged or vulnerable situation. Thank you.
Good morning everyone, I'm Antoinette Azares, BSEN student, and I am under Miss Mayonte's group. What is mental health? Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. It's important because every stage of life is affected. So, paano ngayon na nagkaroon ng pandemic? Kung sa work, mas nahirapan tayo. Sa study, mas nahirapan tayo. Siyempre, how about na nadagdagan pa yung problem? We are going to talk about that. And other member of Miss Mayonte will tackle how pandemic affect every single stage of life.
So, hello everyone, I am Algeline Duran under the group of Miss Elizabeth Mayonte. I will going to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on mental health of the young adults. This includes impacts on jobs, education, rights, and mental well-being. So, of all the heartbreaking effect of COVID-19, its impact on young adults could prove to be one of the most damaging legacies. In fact, the coronavirus crisis risks turning back the clock on years of progress made on young adults' well-being and has put young adults right under serious pressure across the globe. No doubt, the effects of the pandemic are already devastating toll on millions of people, but children and especially the young adults are vulnerable to the greater societal shifts being witnessed. As a result of the virus, for example, the world are being asked to learn remotely through digital tools. Access to education has been challenging, making the stark digital divide in education more apparent. While laptops and iPads were once a pastime luxury, they are now an education necessity that not all can afford. Many young adults also lost their internship or practicums, jobs or wages due to business closure, having to juggle, moving to a new place, spending long hours online, completing coursework and job seeking without the in-person support from the peers could be overwhelming for many young adults. So the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted every aspect of our lives. Even before the onset of the crisis, the social and economic integration of young people was an ongoing challenge. Now, unless urgent action is taken, young people are likely to suffer severe and long-lasting impacts from the pandemic. That's all. Thank you.